Hey, how's it going today? It's Frankie and I'm Wild Wednesdays. And this movie is called 21 Bridges. Now, I only decided to watch this movie because I was looking at, different movies where protagonists get double crossed. I think I kind of messed up for you here a little bit because you're going to watch the movie first, so you're going to know there's going to be a twist in it. But yeah, I'm going to say anyway, but you gotta watch the movie first and then watch my video. So it's about this NYPD detective called Andre Davis, and he's on a manhunt to look for two cop killers that that also stole cocaine as well. And this movie, they didn't have as much action as I expected there to be. I thought there's gonna be a lot more going in this movie, but I'm gonna go straight through it. So he investigates this I don't know what you call this place, but this is where the cop killers Michael and Ray was at, and they were looking for cocaine, and they figured out that there wasn't as much cocaine as they expected, and they want some money, so they got the contra, whatever they need to do. And the police officers come and they shoot them, and then they leave. And this is where Andre Davis comes in, and he has a partner called Frankie Burns. Oh wait, my name is Trip, Frankie. And yeah, she's the one that's helping him out, and he sort of like, these people are very observant. I would never be able to tell what happened. I bet if I went to a crime scene and started looking at things, I would not be able to tell what happened. These detectives you got to really have a keen eye for these things. Like, really think about it, because if you get the wrong theory and get the wrong person arrested, you're in trouble. And this is where he starts to have a talk with someone called, I think, Spencer, Deputy Spencer, and somebody, I forgot the other dude's name that works with him. And for me, Spencer looked kind of suspicious. That my suspicions will be correct in later on, but yeah, I just thought there was something off about the dude. And then they come across someone called Bush, who you see with Michael and Ray after Michael and Ray escaped from the runoff from the police, and they also come into I think they have an interaction with Bush, whoever it is, and they just burn his car, and they sort of drive up to purchase someone called Hawk's house, where it's this guy that's in charge of things. And I think that set things up, and I think he's also in charge of the financial side of things, and he can help make them leave the right amount of cocaine and stuff like that. So, and yeah, I think Bush is also in there as well. I forgot who else was in there, but that's not really important. That's when Michael and Ray leave eventually, and then Andre Davis and other police officers sort of like go in this person's house where they had to ask this woman questions, and Ray is actually this woman's ex. I didn't catch her name though, but that's not necessarily that much important. It was just only mentioned because that's related to like Ray, because that's his ex basically. And yeah, and there's also a goose chase where where there's like a bit of like a chase happening. Yeah, before I go into that, there's also extra scenes where Michael and Ray sort of interactions as well, and yeah, they sort of go to someone called Addy's house where they have an interaction with him, and he's the one that's in charge of passports, something like that. And he also has a hard drive, which is important later on in the movie. And whilst that's happening, because after they had the bags for cocaine or whatever, or money, is it cocaine? Maybe it's money, I think it's money. And they put in the safe, and this is where there's officers there already. But the weird thing is, why wasn't Davis and those other officers called in? How are those officers there instantly? It just felt like it's just a bit too good to be true. I think one of those officers is Kelly. You'll see why later on, and he starts shooting, and the guy that plays Addy, I think that's his name. I think that's the guy see where they shot his eye or something. He was looking through like the peephole for those doors, those apartment buildings. I swear he played what's the guy's name in Star Trek Deep Space Nine? Oh, I forgot his name. I've watched it, I've just forgotten it. And he mentioned about some hard drives, and later on, that's when Davis sort of. Obviously, Davis and his partners come in, and they get the hard drives, and Davis later on just starts to figure out what's going on, and he starts to piece together what actually is happening. There was also an interaction where Bush got shot by Spencer, but he needed to be allowed for questioning. Interesting thing with that is, that's another suspicious thing. Why did Spencer shoot him? Because I think it was Spencer anyway, that's his name. Why, any sane officer would have wanted him for questioning. And he just said he was going to bring out a weapon. He could have easily took the weapon off him. He wasn't that far away from him proximity-wise. So I don't know why he thought they needed to do that. And then a news report came on about it. And that's when Davis sort of gets a bit suspicious about what's happened. He started looking at the hard drives and he starts to see officer badge names. A lot of officers and how much they're going to get paid. And he starts to piece together stuff. And I think he said at the end he made a copy of the hard drives. And that's where they have an interaction at the subway where they chase after them. And they sort of, he chases after Michael after he shoots Ray and in the interaction when they get there in the kitchen part, wherever they are, in the restaurant, so wherever they are. And this interaction where Michael was holding Frankie hostage, basically. Not necessarily hostage, but holding her at gunpoint. And she kept telling Davis to shoot him because he's got enough range. That's an interesting one, because why would she want him dead instantly like that? Davis can see that Michael wasn't going to shoot. He can see that. He's not as killing. It's actually Ray that was doing all the shooting. If I remember correctly, that Michael didn't want to do any killings, but it feels like he has no choice in this situation. He didn't. He actually let go of it and he ran off. And this is a subway scene where Davis chases after him and they got on the train together. And they sort of have a bit of an interaction, a bit of a dialogue here. Excuse me. And Davis does want the drives, but this guy said no to it. So, as soon as he was about to, because Michael gave him his gun, there's sort of interesting where you think, okay, fair enough, he's going to take him in for questioning. And then that's when Frankie comes and shoots him. Why? That's the thing. And the funny thing is in this movie, and this is where, because there's an officer called McKenna that comes in, he comes in a few scenes, especially the scene of the crimes and stuff like that, and starts being passionate about it, about how he wants to find these cop killers. Now, I also said as well, when I was watching the movie, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like him that you wouldn't suspect is in on this, someone that is so close to them, you wouldn't suspect him doing that because that's who he's close to. He wouldn't hurt his own people like that. His own people, whatever you want to call it, right? He wouldn't do that, and he wouldn't suspect someone of, Frankie's nature to do that because she's working with Davis. So you wouldn't suspect him of that. But the ending part, yeah, you're gonna see. This movie obviously was gonna have a twist in that. I mean, as soon as I read that this is one of the movies that the protagonist gets double crossed, there was always gonna be a twist. And then it comes up to McKenna's place. He goes in and he sees Davis just sitting there, and I knew it. I called it. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he's part of it. That just gets you thinking. I wouldn't be surprised. And then they started saying, to talk about the hard drives to each other, and Davis started saying, oh, he mentioned something about 85, whatever it was, right? Instantly. He said that was a colleague of his partner. It was actually a vault where they stored money. I think it was some name he called it. And then McKenna said this, we all need the money and we suffer too much or whatever. They're common dialogue and reason in these sort of movies for doing criminal activity is always something like this. And Davis wasn't necessarily caring that much. And then you see Spencer and his partner come in wanting Davis dead, and they start shooting. He starts taking them out. He's quick. He's very quick to it. As soon as he shoots McKenna, because McKenna was about to shoot him, Frankie sort of comes in, and Davis says, "Oh, it's over." I would never suspected it's her. I was just like, what? Wait, she's in on this too. Damn near everybody that was close to him was in on this. I guess it's a clever trick. Have one or two people you don't figure in on it, but there'll be more better and useful to be on his side and try and manipulate him and try to take him out, because no one would suspect it, they're too innocent. And obviously Frankie was going to take the shot because it's extra, it would be extra life for her. And then David also mentioned she has a daughter and she shouldn't be doing anything stupid. There's only a daughter to cop to be like that. But even if you're a single parent or not, you should not be doing this sort of criminal activity because you got kids. It's common sense. That for me is a bad parent. If you're a parent that has to resort to doing illegal activities for money, you are not a good parent. I understand if you get forced into it, because obviously people feel like they have no choice in that situation. But if you're just doing it out of choice, hell no. That's automatically a bad parent. They might have good intentions, they might be good around their kids, yes. But in terms of what they're doing, they're teaching their kids a bad example. So I don't go too off topic on that one, just have to make a point. And he handcuffs her. And that's really the whole movie, to be honest. I know I explained that in a terrible way. Like I said, in my reviews, I'm not going to mention things in order, but if I do remember something at the top of my head, this is why I sometimes backtrack, because I just remember something just like that top of my head, like a scene. And I didn't want to mention anything boring, right? At the start of it, I was like, okay, this is this shooting scene. And that wasn't exactly the start, but that's a few minutes in. That I thought was going to be more action. The twist I like, and it kind of makes you think. I mean, I feel sorry for these protagonists, right? They get these every time it's like a double cross type of movie. It always seems to be everybody that knows them to be against them. It seems to be like 2 or 3 people. It kind of makes you think though, like sometimes the fake people don't show their fakeness instantly. They just show it over time, and that's what happens. Like when these people know they've been found out, the demeanor changes and they know they have to act. So Frankie was there to act as like try to match Davis's skills in that role, so that he wouldn't suspect her, because he looked at her phone, and that's when you start to find out that she's part of it, because he called Kelly, who was one of the officers. I think did he go there too? I think he was there as well. And they know that Davis was onto him. That's why Davis wanted to borrow Frankie's phone for a while. Quite clever, but she knew he was onto her. Like, it's just too convenient with Oxford phone. Like, that's when you know. Why would she contact Kelly? She would have been at the scene of the crime too. If she knew that who was there, she would have instantly told Davis. The fact that she didn't tell him, it shows that she was in on it. So rating. I thought the acting was good. Maybe improved in some parts. I thought it was good. The acting was good, but no. The actors are perfect for this. The acting was good. Storyline was good. The concept of the movie was good. I like the twist at the end. Some action scenes were alright. Could have had more of that. The way this movie was, especially that shooting scene at the start, I thought it was going to be a lot more of that. Again, my mind was telling me it's a 9. Throughout I was thinking a 9. Then if the twist didn't happen, I probably would have went back and gave it an 8. But because they had something like that at the end, I'll give them that one. I actually like this movie. Do I love it? I wouldn't go as far as say I love it, but I do think it's a really good movie. I do like the movie indeed. It's just it's not bad at all. It's got good elements to it, so I like it. So you know what? I'm gonna stick with what my mind is saying, what my body is saying. It's gonna be 9 out of 10. Only improvements, needed a lot more action, a lot more of those shooting scenes. Like once a movie does that, but then it sort of takes a break. I don't want it to stop and start. I want action movies to be hell bent throughout. You need dialogue. You need some scenes of that, so you can get more of the story, But if it's action, I need intense action. I don't need just like one scene and then 4 or 5 scenes later is action. That's slow. I know not every action movie needs every action movie needs a lot of action and then like shooting and fighting. But if you're taking a break from it, you're not feeling like a proper action film. It would have been a 10 if there was a lot more action happening. That's the only downside to it. By the way, I don't just rate these movies just like that. I explain why I rate it the way I do. I think a lot of people seem to be not liking the movies I rate, especially some of them, where I give it the ratings I do. I do explain it. It's like a horror movie. It doesn't have enough horror going on. It's not exactly going to be the best, the perfect horror movie. If the storyline's good and a lot of things are good, it's probably going to be a good rating. But like I said, I have to give it what I think it is and what I witnessed in the movie. So yeah, I stick by my numbers. Maybe I think there's maybe 2 or 3 movies that I might have regretted the rating that I gave it, but other than that, I mostly stand by my decision. So yeah, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 that is. If you enjoyed the video, please give a like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. So see you in my next video.